Load make ready. Nice.
All right, let's go check this one out.
How do you feel?
I think I shot the second target, the first position, a little bit too quickly. I don't think I got alphas on it. 2 alphas here, 2 Charlie. That was as I came across. I took the shots and I knew the sight wasn't dead center. It was a bad shot. 2 alphas there, 2.
These are really tight.
2. Yeah, this one was pretty, well, it goes to show you, even the one where I shot the 2 Charlie, they're both right next to each other, right? So it's a matter of, you know, the sights were not where they needed to be, but the gun shot and returned to where I had it pointed. This looks pretty good. 4 alpha and 2 Charlies.
Nice.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. The speed I shot this target, that feels like it was probably what the group size should be. So when we talk about this particular CZ, the Shadow, which is what I'm shooting, this is my production division competition gun. So it's one that I have a lot of time on. So when we look at this comparatively to some of the other guns that we've shot, where my score might not have been so good from an overall hit factor perspective, a lot of that comes down to how often I'm shooting this gun and the time that you've got behind the trigger. So it goes back to show you, a lot of this has to do with training and how much time you put on a given platform. This CZ itself, the Shadow, it is built off of the 75 variant CZ, and it's the SP01 variant. It's the SP01 Shadow in 9mm. And some of the differences you'll see over a standard CZ75, we won't cover all of them, but you'll have a full-length dust cover on the Shadow with the rail. Now, in competition, we don't need the rail for any sort of flashlights or tactical attachments, but having the extra weight in the stationary portion of the gun is something that actually allows you to overall control recoil a bit better. It softens the overall recoil impulse that the shooter feels. It's because you have more weight in the stationary portion of the gun. Now, that's one of the major reasons why so many competition shooters are shooting steel frame guns like the CZ as well as the Tanfoglios. Now, back when I first got into shooting like 10, 12 years ago, Henry and I, we actually had a CZ between the two of us. It was yours for a while, then it ended up being mine. And people thought we were bonkers for shooting it. It was one of the decocker variants, which is, at the time, was a little bit less desirable because you couldn't get the trigger at the time to be as nice as on the safety model guns. But now Cajun Gunworks has upgrades for the decocker, so you can get a nicer trigger. They have an upgraded hammer for the decocker.
The 75s are a desirable platform for European competitors, right?
Right, so I think that you see guys like Eric Grafel, who's one of the world champion shooters from over in Europe. He was one of the main guys who was shooting Tanfoglios for a long time, which the Tanfoglio and the CZ are very, very similar in terms of design and function. So the slide-in frame design, a lot of people will tout it as being part of what allows the CZ to have a softer recoil impulse. Honestly, the only way to know would be to have the exact same gun with the slide being hooked on the outside opposed to on the inside. There's too many other factors to know definitively whether or not the slide, kind of being inside the frame makes a difference. What I can tell you is that the fact that the slide sits very close to the top of the grip where the beaver tail is, that does make a difference. It allows the shooter to get as high as possible right behind the point of the gun where the actual mass is reciprocating. So steel frame guns are awesome in terms of shooting because they allow you to control the recoil really well. Now you can also control recoil really well on polymer frame stuff, but a shooter who's got steel frame in one hand and polymer in the other hand with all the other functions and features the same, the steel frame is, in my opinion, easier to control the recoil on because, again, mass in the stationary portion of the gun. But when you then have to strap that mass on you and carry it around for an extended period of time, whether it's for a duty use for law enforcement, military, or if it's just CCW for a civilian, well, carrying the extra weight can be cumbersome, and it's very dependent upon your loadout. Personally, I don't particularly like carrying steel frame stuff as my daily carry CCW guns, despite the fact that I do believe it gives me an advantage when shooting. Just one of those trade-offs. So overall, pretty decent run. Had a little bit of a hiccup on that second target and just had the sights a little bit too low. But overall, I felt like a pretty good run. Let's get on to the next one.
Cyber 16 is Steel Knight 6, 4 Vic, 8 packs, Redcon 1, green to green, how copy, over?
Steel Knight 6, this is Cyber 16, roger, over. 1 6, Steel Knight 1,